Divorces in Kentucky just fell off a cliff, down by 25%. And no, it's not because couples suddenly rediscovered candlelit dinners and long walks under the stars. It's because the cash-out game is over. For decades, divorce was like hitting the jackpot. Mom walks away with the kids, mom walks away with the money, and dad, he gets a pat on the back every other weekend and the privilege of paying bills for a house he no longer lives in. But then Kentucky did something almost no one thought possible. They flipped the script. They passed a law making 50-50 custody the default. And overnight, the numbers told a story nobody wanted to admit. Divorces collapsed. Not because people suddenly got happier, but because the financial incentive vanished. When women realized they couldn't cash out through the courts anymore, filings dropped like a rock.
Kentucky said, hell no. We finna stop this shit. Kentucky implemented a law that in a divorce, you get automatic 50-50 custody. And now the divorce rate is down to 25%.
Because they worry the dad will get half custody even if they divorce. And judges have been accused of ignoring abuse claims, all because the father didn't directly lay hands on the child. But here's the other side. Men see this as finally fair. Husbands say the system no longer rewards the wife for filing for divorce just to get custody and child support. Instead, both parents have to share time, share responsibility, and share costs. So what Kentucky did was take out the financial incentive to blow up a marriage. And for a lot of men, that's exactly why they call this a win.
For years, men have been saying, this system doesn't reward fatherhood, it punishes it. Imagine this. You have your kid half the time, you're feeding them, clothing them, driving them to school, kissing their scraped knees. You're there. But then the court looks at you and says, congrats, now pay full support like you're not even in the picture. It's madness. Kentucky finally said, enough. And the results were immediate. A dad who used to make $4,000 a month might have been forced to cough up nearly $10,000 a year in child support. After the law, maybe $200, sometimes zero. That's not just money saved, that's dignity restored. That's half his child's life back in his home instead of stolen by a court order. And here's the kicker. If divorce rates drop 25% the moment the financial jackpot disappears, what does that tell you about what was really driving those filings all along? For years, men were told, no, women just weren't happy. But the data doesn't lie. When the money went, the motivation went. Happiness was the excuse, not the engine. Of course, not everyone's cheering. Women's groups are furious. They're calling it dangerous, saying it locks mothers in bad marriages and puts kids at risk.
But do the women's groups who do not like this new law have a point? I don't know. Let's talk about it. Let's see.
Divorce rates are dropping in Kentucky. I went there to figure out why. In 2018, Kentucky became the first state to make 50-50 shared custody the default. That means that children split their time equally between both parents,
right,
and fathers pay less in child support the more time that they spend with their children. Before that, judges decided custody based on what they called the best interest of the child. Fathers said that usually relegated them to an every other weekend arrangement, the so-called Disneyland dad effect, while mothers got to spend most of the time with their children. Since the law passed, divorce rates have dropped. Between 2016 and 2023, divorces in the state fell 25%.
They paint the picture of abusive men suddenly shielded by custody laws. But let's be honest, this isn't about protecting women from monsters. Judges can and do still remove custody in genuine abuse cases. This is about something deeper: leverage. For decades, divorce handed one side the kids, the money, the house, and the other side the bill. When Kentucky leveled the field, that leverage evaporated. And guess what? Other states are watching. Florida, Missouri, Arkansas, West Virginia, they're all moving in Kentucky's direction. Over 20 states are considering similar laws. This isn't a one-off. This is the beginning of the end for the divorce industry's golden goose. Critics scream that equal custody puts women and children in danger. But when you actually look at the facts, a different story emerges. A lot of what got labeled domestic violence in family courts was gray area stuff. Yelling in an argument, slamming a door, breaking a dish. Bad behavior, sure, but should a father lose his children over it? That was the game before. Tiny accusations tilted the whole system. Now with 50-50 as the default, the balance finally makes sense. And the reactions from the ground prove it. Fathers say, for once, I'm not just a wallet. For once, I'm an equal parent. Mothers in online forums are openly admitting, This law makes leaving harder. Some women are staying because there's no payout anymore. Think about that. If taking away the check makes people stay, then maybe, just maybe, money was always the main motivator hiding behind the talk of happiness. This is why it's explosive, because it's not just about custody. It's about exposing the truth. Divorce wasn't just a breakup. It was a business model, an industry. Lawyers, judges, state agencies, billions flowed through the machine. And when Kentucky yanked out the financial incentive, the whole thing shook. But here's the other side of the coin. Kids. For decades, kids grew up thinking of one parent as home and the other as visitor. Studies show those kids suffered. They struggled more in school, acted out more, and carried broken ideas of family into adulthood. Shared parenting changes that. Kids do better academically, emotionally, socially when both parents are fully present. This isn't just about fairness to fathers. It's about giving children their full family back. So when critics say, this law is dangerous, ask yourself, dangerous to who? To the child who finally gets two parents instead of one? To the father who finally gets to be more than a paycheck? Or to the system that's been cashing in for decades? Of course, there will always be horror stories. The abusive father who somehow slipped through, the mother who felt trapped with the man she hated. But laws aren't written for the extreme 1%. They're written for the majority. And for the majority, this is working. Kentucky proved it. Divorce plummeted. Families stayed intact. Fathers reclaimed their kids. And the divorce industry, well, they lost their favorite game. The truth is simple. When you take away the financial jackpot, you take away the easy exit. That doesn't mean women are trapped. It means they can't treat divorce like a lottery ticket anymore. Marriage actually has to mean something again. Leaving has to be about something real, safety, necessity, or a genuine end, not about cashing out. And here's what really scares the critics: momentum. If one state can cut divorce by 25%, what happens when 20 states do it? What happens when the cash-out system collapses nationwide? We're talking billions stripped from the divorce industry. We're talking lawyers scrambling, courts adapting, and an entire culture realizing that maybe, just maybe, we've been sold a broken model all along. For men, this is justice. For kids, it's stability. For critics, it's the end of a system that gave them power. And that clash, justice versus leverage, fairness versus entitlement, is exactly why this debate isn't dying anytime soon. So let's connect the dots. One law, 50-50 custody as the default. Divorce filings drop by a quarter. Lawyers panic, activists rage, fathers celebrate. Kids finally feel like they have two parents again. And beneath it all, the ugly truth bubbles up. For decades, divorce wasn't just about love lost. It was about money gained. The question now isn't if Kentucky made the right move. The question is how long before the rest of the country catches on. Because make no mistake, it's coming. And when it does, the divorce industry won't just shrink. It'll collapse. For the first time in decades, men won't be disposable. Children won't lose a parent to court orders. Women won't treat marriage like a slot machine. That's not oppression. That's balance. That's accountability. That's equality. So the real question isn't just about Kentucky. It's about the future. Are we watching the rebirth of family or the death of an entire industry built on tearing families apart? Think about it, because this conversation is only just beginning.